Coming to you from 8122 Production Studios in the heart of the 607, this is Horror Zone 607. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And remember, you can always join the conversation using hashtag HZ607.
Welcome to Horror Zone 607, the podcast where we talk all things horror and bring you the week's biggest horror movie news. I'm your host, Mike C., and for me, it is week 5 of quarantine. I have tunneled halfway to Mississippi. I'm not quite sure where I am, but I've got a long beard, and I have a giant afro, and I'm living with several creatures that grow underground. So that's little update to start the show where I'm at.
Sounds
I'm no
delightful.
No longer in Kansas. So, before I get started, I do have a public service announcement that I do need to make. It's really important news. You can see him May 15th performing his one-man Hall & Oates tribute band. Rich is in the studio.
Yeah,
Welcome
that's right,
back,
man.
buddy.
If you're going to tribute anybody, it's got to be Hall & Oates. Who has more hits than Hall & Oates? Let's be honest. It was hard to learn all the hits because there's just a lot of them.
And doing the two voices at once is pretty impressive.
You know what the hard part was? I'll be honest, Professor. The hardest part about doing it is like when they try to sing at the same time,
Yeah,
or
the
right
harmonizing.
after. It was really hard to throw my voice, but I figure I made it. And also, when I go on tour, I have to shave my beard because I need to get that sweet mustache.
Yeah.
I got to get that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been growing out that. I've been growing out that sweet mustache. I can't remember if it was Hall or Oates that had it. I honestly don't remember which one was the mustache guy. I'm not even gonna look at. It was John Oates. He's got one of the. He's got the second most magnificent mustache.
To be his mustache for Halloween.
You should do it like Two-Face.
Think about it. He has the second most iconic mustache of all time, of course, behind Tom Selleck. Nobody has a better mustache than Magnum
Richie
PI.
was up there at one point too.
Yeah, but think about it. Magnum PI.
Tom Selleck. Kurt Russell's a late stage great mustache. He never had a mustache when he was super popular.
For sake of a joke, and I'm not going to go any deeper, but I bet you it'll make Mike laugh. Gary Sheffield has always had a great mustache. There you go.
There it is.
And I'm going to end it with that. Anybody gets the joke? There you go. I'm not going to say anything else. So
yeah, we're going to be opening up the country for one day and one day only, May 15th. Don't forget to watch it. Hall & Oates tribute band starring Rich.
Listen, they can't. Once again, it's just like. By the way, it's just like Area 51. If you want to be there live, they can't arrest us all.
Correct. That's correct.
And you never know. There might be alien food there too.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, go on.
You do have somebody else in the studio with you.
That's
He's
right.
back.
No, we
He's
don't.
the smartest man in all of horror podcasting. Welcome back, the Professor.
Well, hello. How are you?
Hi there.
Hey.
How's it been the last couple of weeks?
Oh, it's been wild. Online education.
I saw a video. I saw a video of the professor training.
Yeah.
He's getting into the training modes.
Yeah.
That was satire, correct? Or were you trying to be
No,
serious?
that's real. That's real. No, that was not real.
I was going to say, you throw the weakest punches of any Italian that I know.
My boxing name is Tinklefist.
A real Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, they call me
real Rocky.
Tinklefist. And, my punches land like a light rain.
It's like a drizzle on a warm summer day.
Well, my cousin, we're going to do a matchup eventually. I'm Tinklefist. He is the Drizzle. Drew the Drizzle Pearson.
Ah, there we go. All right.
So, yeah, we're going to do...
you're
there's going to be a
preparing for this
match.
battle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to be interesting.
All right, well that's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I was actually I looked and saw it the one day. I'm like, you know what, this makes my day today. I'm glad when the professor puts something out there that's not just him reading a book on a porch. It makes me feel like, how did you set up your in the case of in the case of quarantine? How the fuck did you set up this picture to make it look professional? Because man, I can't if I put my phone on the side, I'm not going to get the right. I know you did it on your own, but I'm just saying if I do that, I'm not going to get that professional quality of you sitting on a porch reading a book.
I have a good eye.
It's going to be droopy. It's going to cut half of me off.
I wish I could have been one of your neighbors watching you set that up.
Well, it's funny.
Because
It's funny because the neighbor's cats actually watch me when I go down to punch the. I have a heavy bag down in the basement, and every time I'm like working out and I'm hitting the thing, I look up, and in the window of the basement, like those small little windows, there's like maybe one or two cats just like looking at me like, what the hell's going on?
You scared all the cats away.
Because they hear the tinkle fist.
Yeah, they're scared all the cats away, man.
Yeah.
Do you have bells on your gloves? Is that why? They might hear the chime of the bells.
It's the chain of the heavy bag.
Okay, there you go.
They're sensitive to that.
I knew there had to be a noise that they were coming for.
So I got to ask you guys, how's little Michael A doing in the studio?
Oh, he's actually in a pile in the corner
He's
right
slumped.
now.
He's slumped in the
That's par
corner.
for the course. That's par for the course.
We put him in the corner. Actually, let's be honest. We just didn't want to set him up this week.
We didn't set him up. Yeah, sorry.
And see, we're at least honest because this is radio. We could have lied. This is all audio. There was no visual representation.
He's
We
in
could
a
have told you
pile.
that he was sitting here and taking over the spot very well, and we could have even involved him in the conversation by making pauses. But no,
The pants are on top of the head.
this week he's in a pile. So
Well, you know what? The resemblance was uncanny to me, and it just made me feel good that I was there with you guys in some form. So
Well, yeah, you still are, just kind of in a pile.
Yeah.
I should get a mannequin head.
we got
and
a big show.
I need to get
We got a
mannequin
big
heads
show
for
this
those
week,
masks over there. And then when I get a mannequin head for the mask, I can use that as your head, and we can put the mask on if we want to be fun.
Yeah.
I have a couple masks there. So
Sure.
and stuff. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. I just thought it was fun.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So just saying, we got a big show this week. We got, believe it or not, a ton of news. Some big stuff to talk about there. We're also going to be doing the review that we promised a couple of weeks back. As you know, last week, Shudder's series Cursed Films premiered 2 new episodes, one of which was about the movie Poltergeist. So we'll be discussing the actual movie Poltergeist, and that's going to be fun. We'll give our reviews and our thoughts on that. But I figured we'd kick off the news. Some super big stuff.
Yeah,
that,
kick it off.
Has been coming out. I really can't believe some of the stuff. I figured it was going to be, the shows were going to be different throughout this pandemic, just because there wasn't anything in production. But it's just like it just keeps coming and coming and coming.
Just like me and your mom.
Yeah, that's just reminds me of just that.
Just coming and coming and coming. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you're fired. So, and my mom sends her love. So.
Hopefully she's not listening.
But yeah, to kick off the news, this has been something that's been talked about for what seems like the last 30 years, 20 years. But Hellraiser is officially being remade. It is official. It is happening. It's going to be produced by Spyglass, who are also going to be behind the next Scream movie. And it's going to be directed by David Bruckner. So this thing is actually happening.
Bruckner, what's he done?
You have a phone.
If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I'm going to look it up while you keep going.
Well, anyways,
he was behind VHS. He wrote and directed VHS.
Of the segments.
He did Amateur Night.
Oh, and that's a good one. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He also co-wrote and co-directed The Signal, which I am not familiar with.
Signal was good. It was a cool little movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Amateur Night segment of VHS, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be the one that says, yeah, we don't really need it.
We don't.
He was set to direct a Friday the 13th reboot for Paramount, but left that in 2015 too. So he's kind of got his hands in a lot of things. He's trying to get out there, trying to make some big things. And Hellraiser, pretty big, and it's the words that were used is that it's being remade, which I think is kind of what we expected. I don't think that we expected another awful direct-to-video, direct-to-digital sequel.
But see, I would prefer, in this case, I think I would prefer reboot. Because the difference between a reboot and a remake is a fine line, but still. And in a nutshell, we'll go with the Kevin Smith thing. A remake is making the same thing a second time, and that making people pissed off. I.e., the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. It was definitely a remake because they didn't bring any new ideas to the table. They didn't change anything. I mean, yes, obviously it wasn't shot for shot because you don't have to do a shot for shot, but the ideas stayed the same, and hence why people compared it to the original because it was that way, and then it got shitted on, and it's bad. Now a reboot, it means you change some things. And I think that what they should have done is changed some things, because I think that would be more successful, because obviously you're not going to go with Doug Bradley as the star.
Yeah.
You're going to be going with a whole new cast and things category. If you wanted to keep the same vein of the story of the stepmother and the father and all that, blah blah blah. We're not going to dive into the whole story of Hellraiser, but if you want to keep it in the same vein, you could very well do that. Maybe switch roles, whatever. But you could still make it fresh and make it your own. Like, I don't necessarily want to see Pinhead. Maybe a new kind of Cenobite to start it off.
Well,
I'm just
Pinhead,
saying,
in the original story, Hellbound Heart, Pinhead isn't even named. He's,
right.
He's not even.
He's Cenobite 1.
Yeah.
But or lead Cenobite, because in the script he was called lead Cenobite.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing: I don't necessarily want to see that style, though. I want to see them do something maybe a little different.
Cenobites.
And the reason why I say that is because I feel like if you make it a mirror image of the original, it will always fall short. The original film was a really good film. Obviously, the villain of that movie wasn't even the Cenobites at all.
I mean, they're just there.
They're a plot device, if you will. Technically, if you really let's talk to Doug Bradley, like I got to talk to Doug Bradley, he basically has always said that technically Pinhead's never been the bad guy.
No,
he's just the judge and the executioner. Basically, he gives you an option.
Humans are always the villains.
He gives you the option, and that's fine. He talks to the people and finds out why, and then you get punished upon that. But here's the thing,
I mean, he really doesn't do a whole lot.
No,
there's not much that he does do in the series, especially the first couple movies.
First movies, he's in for less than 5 minutes.
There.
Yeah, they're
like
they're antagonists maybe, but they're not bad guys.
No, I agree.
Right.
With you.
And it's a double-edged sword doing this, because if you don't have him, people are going to just be all over it. Where's Pinhead? Where's Pinhead? Where's Pinhead? This is like Halloween 3 without Michael Myers. This is going to be like Friday the 13th Part 5 without the real Jason.
No,
Where is he? Where is he?
Yeah.
Where is he? But if you have him in there, if it's not Doug Bradley, people are going to be all over that, like they did the last 2 direct-to-video ones, which were awful.
Right, that's my point.
And,
my point is it is a double-edged sword, but I think you could win some, the people you need to cater to. And I understand making money, you want to cater to a wide span audience. But let's be honest, if it's a good movie, the wide span audience doesn't give a shit because they're not faithful to anything. You know what I mean? Like if you're just doing a casual fan. So the people you need to actually cater this decision around are horror fans. I feel like horror fans are more forgiving about something that is good than something that is just shit put in a package. Yeah. And that's the best way I can think about it. It's that Tommy Boy scenario where, you can buy, I can take a shit in a box and put a guarantee on it, still means it's shit. and that's kind of what you do. You can take a shit in a package and call it Hellraiser, but at the end of the day, that could be it.
Could get a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's ass.
Yeah, but I'd rather take the butcher's word for it. But and you could go on and on. Who would have thought that would become a great thing to quote? But anyways,
that's amazing.
I also want to point out that if you're doing something fresh, yes, it's a gamble, but in the long run, it might pay off. Because in the long run, now that we've seen it, I know it didn't pay off at the time, so people can be upset about it. But now that we're seeing Halloween 3 has become a resurgence, and a lot of people love that movie because now they understand that the movie, yes, doesn't have Michael Myers, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like myself, and I mean, I know I've championed this a while, but a lot of people have come around to think that Friday the 13th 5 is one of the best movies in the franchise because, yes, it's not Jason, but at the same time, if you forget about that twist ending, it's one of the most mean-spirited, brutal movies to watch. And if you're a horror fan, especially in the slasher genre, it's probably, with 6, is what the 2 best slasher films in the whole franchise.
It's got the spirit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 5 and 6 are the 2 most slasherific, if you will, of the whole series.
Slasherific.
What I mean by that, brutality, body count, mean-spirited. It's a good it's a
word.
good mixture. I know I had to make something up on the fly, but I think that you can pay off in the long run, and I think nowadays people are more forgiving quicker because of those things. I.e., we saw we saw a really good thing with Halloween 2018. I know you don't like it, Mike. I'm not even bringing it up to get you started. I'm just saying if you think about it,
it's on my television right now.
Oh, hey-oh.
Watching it again, huh?
He's watching. By the way, for somebody who hates that movie, you have watched it more than any. Me and the professor have watched it.
It always comes on.
Ready for this?
It came on. I was watching the I told you guys before when you first called me to set up for the show off air, I was watching The Butterfly Effect, and this came on afterwards.
Me and the professor, who the professor liked the movie a lot, and I was in the middle of the road about it because we're all in different boats. But I guarantee you've watched that movie more than me and the professor have combined.
14 times. We have him quoted on this show. He's watched it 14 times.
So this is 15.
Yeah.
And how many times have you watched it, Professor?
He likes it.
And you know what?
He really likes
I still hate
Mikey
it more every
likes
time.
Professor, how many times have you seen it?
Twice.
Twice. Counting the
I'm
theater
not
or
even
not
paying
counting the theater?
attention to
Counting
it, and
the
it's
theater.
on mute. And
I've seen it twice.
I'm actually lowering my grade right now as we speak for it.
4 times. 4 times between me and the professor.
Hey,
You've watched
Mikey,
this movie
likes
11
it.
more times than me and the professor combined. And we were actually people who were like, "Oh, it was a good movie." Like
I bet.
professor thought it was.
I
great.
bet in 10 years, Mike is going to be like, you know what?
It's a complete turnaround. You know what? Believe it or not, it was a cinematic masterpiece.
We're just messing with you.
Yeah,
we have to.
I don't know that'll happen.
All right. Well,
I do.
I think. What else? What other news have we got besides Pinhead? Because I think.
Well, we got other remake news.
Oh
that
wow,
hit
remake
this past week.
More remakes.
And this one's going to go under the category what are they thinking? Because apparently The Others is being remade.
Why?
And not only is it being remade, supposedly A-list Hollywood talent, this is a quote, A-list Hollywood talent is interested in doing it, and the plan is to reinvent and modernize the film.
Well, Nicole Kidman is A-list Hollywood talent. Why do they need?
Yeah.
Greatest thing that ever happened to that movie wasn't even in that movie. It was the Scary Movie ripoff of it with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. There was no listen. I'm going to say this. It might get it out of the way, and it's not even for the cheap thing. There is a handful of movies that need to be less remaked than this one, including Freddy's Dead. See, I got it out of the way, but I'm being honest. But I'm being honest. Like this goes in the line of like, let's remake. We're going to remake Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, which one? Freddy's Dead. And you'd be like, oh, really? Of all the movies you could pick, just like we're gonna remake Friday the 13th. Which are we gonna remake? Jason Goes to Hell. Really? Of all the movies we could remake. Yeah. And once again, this is in that vein.
But the others,
who cares? That movie, it doesn't. It's not a movie that makes an impact.
It's a good movie, and
right,
there's
for the
nothing
time,
wrong with it.
When's the last time you were sitting around in a circle with friends and we're like, it was really great. That movie, The Others.
I thought you were going to set up a different scenario.
No.
Here's what I'm going to say about this.
When's the last time we were like, oh, what movie are we going to watch? The Others. Never.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, it was on the other day. I watched it again the other day. When I went to the theater to see this when it came out. It came out almost 20 years ago now. It was, I believe, 2001 that it came out.
Holy shit.
When I saw it in the theaters, there was a lot of buzz behind it. People loved it. It was getting really, really, a lot of critical acclaim.
It had the twist.
And I kind of was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why people like it. And the more times I watched it as the years went by, and no, this is not going to happen with me in Halloween 2018. I know what you're thinking. But the more times I watched it, the more I liked it. And it grew into I am extremely fond of The Others. And the reason being is
it's a good movie.
I like the haunted house subgenre, but it's not been done well. Hollywood overdoes it constantly. There's always a big, ridiculous ending, and they overdo it constantly. You look no further than movies like The Haunting, 1999.
Ugh.
Look at,
I can defend it.
The remake
I can defend it. See, I hate haunted house movies just because they don't do it for me. I don't like the cheap. I don't like, and it's funny that we're going to talk about Poltergeist in the third thing, and I'll bury the lead. But I enjoy Poltergeist. I don't usually like possession movies, and I don't like haunted house movies, and it's because I don't like the cheapness of them.
Yeah.
But I will say this: there is one set of movies I do like in that category, and outside of The Exorcist and Poltergeist, I do like those movies. There is one set of movies, and that's the Conjuring movies. I think they do haunted houses very well.
They do.
Movies. But I don't like their sub.
But they're over the top.
I don't like their
They're
sub
very
movies.
much over the.
I don't know.
The final act is over the top. The Others remake was just awful.
Came out right around the time, like right after Sixth Sense, right? Didn't it?
Yeah.
Which one?
It was right around the time.
And you know what? I think that's why they have the biggest problem with that movie, because Sixth Sense did everything better.
Yeah, and they had the twist ending and all that, and like everybody was like, oh, all about the twist.
But The Others was very
then.
subtle. They went more with atmosphere and suspense, and it's what made it work. It wasn't
like a
over
classic...
the top. It had a good twist ending.
Yeah.
Listen, I
didn't see the ending coming.
I don't want to ruin the last. I don't want to ruin the last segment, but I think the over top ending is what makes sometimes a great movie, i.e. Poltergeist. I mean, if we don't have the over-the-top ending, because I know we'll get into it later, so I'm not going to mention it now.
Poltergeist has
but
a lot
it has
of
an
awesome
over-the-top
stuff
ending, and that's what makes it great. I think that's what made the Conjuring movies great, too. There's that slow burn into a crescendo, and then once you hit the crescendo, you're like, oh, shit. And that's why I think that they've never been able to capture the Conjuring extended universe, if you will. I don't think that's why they've never been able to capture the same success as the actual Conjuring movies, because they haven't figured out how to do that.
The second Annabelle movie is pretty good.
You know what? Annabelle, I was never big on the Annabelle movies, and then the third one ruined me from ever watching another one ever again.
Well, the second one, that was the guy that did Lights Out, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That was pretty good.
The Curse of La Llorona was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
But
very
that was
much.
really but that did the thing. That did what I said. First of all, that movie opens up with smacking you in the face, and then it's the build, and then there is a crescendo. So actually, they did that very well, because it opens very hot. Like within the first 5 minutes, you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this, and that's all I need to say. And there was a bunch of kids that went to see a kids movie. I do believe what I can't remember what it was now. There was a kids movie that came out. Remember, Mike, in Canada? We talked about it, and they accidentally played the opening of La Llorona instead of the kids movie. And I was like, oh, those kids are traumatized for life, because the first 5 minutes of that movie are not for kids.
I need to see this now.
Oh, you need to see it. Trust me,
wasn't
the first
it Frozen 2?
I think it was Frozen. It could have been Frozen. It was Frozen 2 or something like that. No matter what it was, they accidentally...
No. Frozen 2, I think that the Child's Play remake came on.
But La Llorona had that same thing happen. I just can't remember the kids' movie. And we were like, those kids are going to be traumatized for the rest of their lives, because the first 5 minutes of La Llorona are not for the faint at heart. Yeah. Like you watch that first 5 minutes, you're like, I can't believe they did that on screen right away. And of course, me as a fan of horror movies, I'm like, this is amazing. Where do I sign up to watch more of this?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that's the only Conjuring extended universe movie where they've done a good job of capturing what the Conjuring is. With that being said, I mean, like I said,
it's a Conjuring universe.
It is right there. Look, we have a poster in studio.
From the producers.
Yes, but it is from the Conjuring. You'll see by the end of the movie.
There's a scene that ties one thing in. Although there's not much, but there's a character and a scene that they show that has to do with one of the other movies. If you haven't seen it, I won't give it away.
Yeah, don't give it away for him.
Don't give it away. Give it away.
It was much publicized.
Give it away.
I would like him to see it, because it's actually very good.
Give it away.
But anyways, it's not.
It is a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know Mike loves
much better than The Nun.
Mike loves The Nun.
You
don't let him fool you.
Oh, the movie
could have worked.
I thought he didn't like
the
the
Nun
character.
Could have worked. You had a creepy character. You had a unbelievably creepy environment. You know, everything about that movie should have worked, and it was just awful. It was so bad.
Yeah, I've warmed up to it a little bit, but it is kind of jump scare the movie.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of The Nun at all. But once again, all things aside, The Others was, from like most people, if you like that genre, they do like it, so it doesn't need a remake there. But I also go by the fact that as a casual fan who doesn't really like that movie, I'm going to point out, like I said earlier, nobody ever goes together when we were like, oh, what movie do we want to watch? There's never anybody that brings it to the table and goes, oh, we should do The Others. Never in my life.
I made the mistake of showing it to film class, and it bored the shit out of them. And then I was like,
slow.
oh, wait.
It's a slow burn.
I was like, wait till the end, guys. Wait till the end. And then the end came, and then they were like, really? That was it? And I was like, all right, fine.
I made a mistake.
Here's the thing, too.
I made a terrible mistake.
This is 20 years ago that it came out. Here's the thing that surprised me the most about this, because I didn't know that it did this well. On a $17 million budget, it made $210 million 20 years ago.
That's good.
So it did big. It was I would say it would have to be classified under a blockbuster. You know, when you're over $200 million, that's a blockbuster film. So
yeah, but we've had other blockbuster films that I don't need to see a remake of either.
Yeah.
Like Jaws. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Jaws.
File this under the category of what are they thinking?
Jaws is a classic movie, and I don't ever want to see it remade because they're just going to butcher it. I mean, if you need any other evidence, Halloween got a remake. Just saying.
Yeah.
And there's people who like that Rob Zombie shit. I'm looking at one of them.
Yeah.
But this is the same person who doesn't like he's the same person who doesn't like The Collector.
Did I ever say that?
Or is it Luke that doesn't like The Collector?
I've never seen The Collector.
One of our compadres doesn't like it.
I've never seen.
You need to see The Collector.
The Collector I've never seen.
It's good. It's good.
Really?
I stand by it. It's a good movie.
I thought you were there the night we all watched it, Professor.
I don't remember.
Anyways,
Yeah, when it came out, I brought it over. Remember we'll talk off air about it, but
let's
friend
not
of ours
bog
had
down.
us over, and Luke was there, and I know he hated it. So
okay, so I got the wrong compadre.
I don't.
Damn it.
If I've seen it, I have no idea.
Good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Great premise, good movie.
Lot, so.
And they're doing another one. Any other remake news?
No more remake news, but there's one more story I want to get to before we take a break. And James Wan, we knew that he was going to be producing a new Salems Lot for the big screen.
Ooh.
And some news came out about that. It's going to be written and directed by Gary Dauberman. And for people that don't know who he is, he's been responsible for writing a lot of the Conjuring universe horror films, such as Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, The Nun, It Chapter 2, which have nothing to do with the Conjuring universe, but he wrote those. So he's written 6 big-time horror movies in the last, decade, less than a decade.
And out of those 6
years.
Out of those 6, only a couple of them were good.
Yeah,
that's why
I watched It Chapter 2 again over the weekend, and I really did enjoy it. I liked it when I saw it in theaters. I liked it even more seeing it a second time.
I liked it too. I like both the It movies.
Yeah,
I also would go with but I mean, when you said The Nun, I was like, you lost me.
Yeah.
When Annabelle Comes Home, you lost me.
I haven't seen Annabelle Comes Home.
Oh, dude,
I've only seen the second.
By the way, I'll save you some time. It's just an infomercial for other Conjuring projects. That's all it is. It is.
The only outside the original actual Conjuring movies, the only one I've seen is Annabelle Creation, and I like that one.
I'm just telling you, 3 comes Annabelle Comes Home. Just save your money. Don't watch it. Save your time, even if it's free. And I'm going to tell you why. Because literally all that's Mike. It's all it is an infomercial for other Conjuring projects. That's all it is. It's an hour and a half infomercial.
I've watched it again because it's been on HBO lately. So I did go back and watch it again. And although it's a fun waste of 2 hours, it was not good.
It's not good. Yeah, well, that was an oxymoron.
It's not
there.
a good movie. I wouldn't classify it as like a legendary horror movie. It never will be. But I mean, it's got fun moments in it. There's some stuff in it that was kind of fun, but I do not think you'll like it very much when you finally see it.
See, on the other hand,
Rich and I went to see it, and we both walked out feeling the same way.
Did either of you guys see the follow-up to David Mitchell Gordon, the movie he did after It Follows, Under the Silver Lake?
No, I did not.
I watched that last night, and I don't know what the hell I watched.
Okay.
I just randomly, it's one of those, like Mike said, 2.5 hours this was 2.5 hours long, and I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a horror movie or a comedy or...
And, and It Follows was so good.
Yeah.
That was...
My expectations were extremely high.
Film.
Well, getting back to Salem's Lot, though, and
Salem's Lot.
I got to put it out there. We were talking about remakes and redoing things, and I mean that's been long enough. And being the miniseries on TV, I'm excited to see what they can do with a budget of a movie, and I think it'll be a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? Polished.
Yeah,
because it was very gritty and raw in the original.
I'm afraid
the original movie
CGI effect.
The original early 80s, was it the first?
Yeah.
That one's creepy.
79, I think.
It is. Yeah, it's a 79, 80.
And it's actually like Salem's Lot is my favorite Stephen King book.
I'm not saying it wasn't creepy,
and
but
so I'm excited.
I'm just looking to see what it would look like polished. So I'm fine with them remaking it because the miniseries was very much of its time. It's very much of a TV because
they
back
did
then
another
TV
one with
wasn't.
Rob Lowe, right?
Yeah. There's
Yeah, I
not.
haven't
Well,
seen
here's the
that
thing:
one.
the TV, the TV back then isn't like TV now.
Yeah,
TV now they dump a ton of money into. You won't even know the difference. Like a Netflix. Netflix is running series that look like movies.
Yeah.
I talked about that. I watched The Hunters on Amazon. Yeah, Westworld, one of the best ones. But I watched The Hunters on Amazon. I said I liked it. It was like watching an 8-hour long movie or however long because it looks like movie quality. Back then, miniseries meant it's not going to look as
like
polished. It looks like a TV show episode, but it's longer. And I would like to see what a polished version looks like. And Fede Alvarez being involved is always always a plus. So, and once again, to be fair, I did have to crap on it a minute, but I mean, everybody writes things that aren't great.
Yeah.
The fact that
You gotta get the foot in the door.
The fact that he wrote It and It Chapter 2 means that and they were both very good, means that he knows how to write Stephen King stuff.
My only issue with It Chapter 2 is there's a lot of scenes where they're just in the hotel and characters go in and out, like, oh, was Bill here? No, he just left. And then, like,
and I thought about that when I was watching it the other night. I know you've said that at multiple occasions, and there was a reason for that. Like, the Mike character tells them when they have to go find their token, one of them actually says, why don't we stick together? Isn't everybody supposed to stick together in these situations? And he says, no, you need to go out and you need to do this on your own. And so, yes, they're kind of passing other people as they're getting ready to go out and find their things. But Mike specifically tells them, you need to go do this on your own. That's why they were off on their own.
Well, no, supposed, and that's in the book, but the hotel scenes drove me nuts. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, you just missed him. Oh, he's upstairs. Let's wait until he comes downstairs, and then someone leaves, and then someone. It's just like there's 20 to 30 minutes of the movie that, which is
right. Yeah, but
it's nitpicky.
I don't know. I mean, I actually did enjoy it even more watching it back.
It's a good movie.
The one thing that I think that bothered me more than anything, although the big climax was a little over the top, the one thing that kind of bugged me was the whole Henry Bowers character in this one. He was kind of pointless. They kind of built it up a little bit at the beginning, showed him in, where he was and this and that, and kind of showed him escape and that he was going back, but he didn't really do much. He didn't really have much of a point. Yeah. So that character ended up kind of being a throwaway character when he was a big character in the first part of it. Mm-hmm. So, I think that was kind of something that was a missed,
opportunity.
Thing. When you make a 3-hour movie, how do you not have time to throw something with him in there? It's like they ran out of time for him, but
yeah, there's more stuff with him in the book too, which would have been great.
Yeah. So, what I would like to see for Salem's Lot, because I do think that the original made-for-TV one is really creepy. It was a long time ago that I saw it, so I really want to watch it again, and I'm probably going to buy it so I can watch it again. But what I'd like to see is, we know that Andy Muschietti did a great job with the It movies. You got his writer that's coming in and making this a Stephen King movie. Why wasn't he the one that directed it with this guy writing it, co-writing it with him? I think that might have been something I'd be looking forward to more. Maybe it's going to be fantastic, but I have a feeling it's going to be a big CGI fest.
I hope not. Well, he might be trying to get away from the Stephen King stuff, though, Andy Muschietti, or however.
Could be.
Yeah.
But what else has he done?
Mama.
This is his big claim to fame.
He did Mama.
Yeah, but was that something that anybody says, oh, what's a great horror movie, Mama?
Well, yeah,
but people are going to say that about It and It Chapter 2. They were monster movies, no pun intended.
Mama, to me, is like the E.T. of horror films.
Yeah, but maybe that would have been something that this would have been good, and who knows? Maybe this is going to be good. One thing I haven't really read anything about, because I don't know that a lot of details have come out about it, but is this going to be more than one part like it was? How many parts was the miniseries? It was at least 2 parts. Was it 3?
I don't remember.
I have
only
to look back.
know
it was at least a 2-parter, I think.
I've only watched it on DVD, and I forgot when it divides.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Weren't they usually like 3 episodes or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So that's going to be something we'll have to find out. Is it going to be something where it's going to be more than one movie? I'd be interested in finding that out.
I don't think it'd be necessary to be more than one movie, to be honest. Even though it is a big book and there's a lot going on, it can be condensed down.
Right.
I mean, it's vampires. You don't really need to explain too much.
Right. Well, I think it's time that we should probably take our first break here. We went over a lot here, and we got a lot more news to talk about. But, Rich, why don't you tell people where they can find us?
Oh, yes. If you would like to get in contact with us, tell us talk about anything we talked about here, or go ahead and reach out to us about something you would like us to cover, or just say hi in this time of quarantine, you can do that. We're on Facebook, Horror Zone 607. Like and share that page. We are also on Twitter and Instagram at Horror Zone 607. Please use the hashtag HZ607 when talking about the show show on all of our social medias. And also, that's about it. that's my announcements for this week. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have some more horror movie news. Well, actually, horror news in general, because we got some show news, we got some game news. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff coming up. So we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Courtney Gaines, Malachi from Children of the Corn. You're listening to Horror Zone 607.
And welcome back to the Zone. It is segment 2, and we have got a ton more horror movie and horror series news to talk about. So we'll jump right back into the news here. Fede Alvarez is going to be directing a new movie. This one is going to actually be a pandemic-themed zombie film called 16 States. Not a lot of other news about it, but that's what he's doing.
I'm just saying, I think he missed it. I think he missed the opportunity. The bus is already gone.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to seem like it's like post
in response.
Yeah,
yeah. I think this would have been perfect to shoot like a year ago and have released now.
Ill-timed.
Right. I mean, I think I still would probably check it out because I like Fede Alvarez. But let's be honest. If this would have been in production right now to come out, it would have been perfect timing.
Well, we're gonna have a slew of pandemic-themed horror films in the next few years, and it's gonna suck.
That's gonna be the worst.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to that.
I mean, and we also have a slew of zombie stuff coming out now
still,
too.
Yeah, and
because we got the Train to Busan sequel.
Well, that looks different. I mean, Train to Busan was good.
Right, and then they have the prequel. They have the animated prequel, and now we're gonna have the animated prequel. I think just hit. Okay. And then we have the sequel coming out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not still going to see this movie. I'm just saying there's a lot of zombie stuff coming out, and I'm honestly, because of The Walking Dead, I feel like the zombie genre has been watered down. Oh. And I think he would have been right on cue if he would have done this before the pandemic, and it got. Even if it got pushed back and didn't get released till after, because I really have the fear of exactly what the professor's saying is that right now you have a lot of writers sitting at home and they have nothing to write about, and I'm telling you now, get ready for Pandemic the movie over and over and over again, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen going from 2021 and 2022 is you're going to see Pandemic horror movies, you're going to see Pandemic drama movies, you're going to see Pandemic comedies.
Yeah.
I swear to God, COVID-19 is going to be the biggest star in 2021, 2022, because everybody is just writing about it because they have nothing else to do.
Well, it's like
by the way, the Adam Sandler COVID-19 comedy, you know it's coming.
Yeah, like the mid-90s with the AIDS, the spread of AIDS. Like they had Outbreak and all the I forgot the author that wrote some of these books, but like the spread of viruses and stuff like that. That like post 80s, obviously, like there were tons of movies,
and
like
the veiled references too is in post 80s for that. It's going to be the same. I also want to throw it out there with the Adam Sandler movie. I just want to put it out to the public. I mean, if somebody steals the idea, that's fine, but that'll just make me rage because you'll hear it here and it's recorded. I guarantee the movie will be starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and it will be they used to be in love. Now their marriage is falling apart, and just before they could get separated, though. Quarantine.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it's going to be. It's going to be, and hilarity ensues when two people who are no longer in love get stuck together during the quarantine.
What was that Vince Vaughn movie with Jennifer Aniston? The breakup?
Oh, the breakup?
Yeah, the breakup.
They still live together and they're...
Right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be similar to that, only the thing is going to be like their marriage is falling apart. They're getting a legal separation. The day that their legal separation is going through, and she's gonna move out on Friday, and this is Tuesday, and then all of a sudden the governor of New York shuts down everything because here comes the virus. Everything gets shut down. They have to stay in place, so they can't go out. They're not they're essential workers from home or whatever, because you can add that in if you want to add some little whatever to it, wacky zaniness, because you got to add in all the side characters. And since they can't be in the house,
like
Rob Schneider's got to be the delivery guy, and a couple of the other players have to be on the Skype and shit. You know what I mean? But that's how I'm calling it now. I'm calling my shot. I know that's not horror related, but I'm calling my shot, and that's why I said. And once again, this is not to slight. I'm not slighting Fede Alvarez. I do want to make that clear because I really do enjoy him as a director. I enjoy his movies, but I just think that this, unfortunately, I wish this would have come out before all of this.
Spend the creativity
and
on something else.
And the reason why is, even if he had this in the works before all of this and this idea was there, I think now it's just going to flood with everything else, and it's going to get lost in the mix, unfortunately.
Yeah. Agreed.
I agree.
Okay.
And don't forget that, Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler are stuck there. They're going to find the reason that they were in love in the first place, and it'll have a happy ending.
And then Terry Crews will be just dancing outside the window for whatever reason. So yeah,
right,
I mean,
exactly.
I just called it, and if it happens, you guys heard it here first. I'm just saying, and I think that's a horror movie enough.
Yeah.
All right, the next Purge movie, it's got a title. It's going to be called The Forever Purge.
So basically,
Forever
I'm wondering if they're teasing this in the TV series. So in the TV series, it looks like they're teasing this last episode, the last season of the TV series. I'm not going to spoil it too much. I'm just going to do an overview. The last season, I know Mike was paying attention to as well. It basically took place not in Purge time, but there was a lot of people who wanted to still purge. And I think that I think that this movie, I mean, I could be completely wrong. I think maybe that was a flirtation with this movie, because if calling it Forever Purge, I feel like this is going to say that the government's going to lose control. And when that siren goes off to end the purge ain't going to end. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
Because I feel like that's what kind of they were leaning towards psychologically in the second season of the Purge TV show on USA, which was very good, by the way. I did dig that twist that it wasn't all about the Purge, because that show, the second season ends when the Purge starts. So it's kind of like it was an interesting take. So I think that maybe is where they're going. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Mike, or you got another take?
I absolutely agree with that. Maybe that was kind of a test run to see where this would go, but with the name The Forever Purge, that's exactly what's going to happen. The government's going to lose control. People are going to they're going to have that bloodlust, and they're just going to keep purging, when the siren goes off to end it, and things are just going to be out of control. It's just going to be like a crazy,
out of control
movie.
My big question, though, for you guys before we move on to the next thing is, because it's the Forever Purge, do you think that they'll reach out to Seal to do the soundtrack, because that's what Batman did when he was forever?
Yes, I hope the Kiss from the Rose is the love theme for the Forever Purge.
We're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy.
I feel like they missed. By the way, they did the Crazies remake, which I was a fan of. It. If you guys didn't remember, me and Mike both.
The Crazies is.
By the way, me and Mike both put it on our 2010s best horror movies in 2010s.
It's a good one.
Which is a great movie. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. I can't plug it enough. I do think they missed it there. They should have used Crazy in that movie.
Yeah,
there should have been a scene where it was on in the background, because I think it would have made it a very ambient. It would have been very good ambiance. But I digress. That movie was great without it. But I thought that would have just been perfect. But yeah, I can see this working out fine. I mean, the Purge movies are what the Purge movies are. The Purge movies are kind of like the Fast and Furious of horror movies. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a franchise that keeps going. It makes no sense at times, and it's violence for the sake of violence. I'm not upset about that, so don't act like I am, because I'm a fan, because I like violence for the sake of violence. That's why I like 28 Weeks Later. I mean, 28 Days Later was better, but 28 Weeks Later, man, that was just violence for the sake of violence. Like, how many
still haven't seen that
dude?
one.
You have to see it. Just blood and guts everywhere.
There's
no point to that movie except for violence.
Here's how I feel about
I like
this.
that.
Yeah.
Most of the time, when I hear that there's going to be a Child's Play series coming to Sci-Fi, to me that means it's going to spell the end of the original Chucky series.
As it will, probably.
Oh yeah.
Which it will, right. I'm not a huge fan of hearing, it would have been the same thing if Friday the 13th made it the series, and I'm glad that got scrapped.
Well, technically it did, but it had nothing to do with Jason. But yes, we all remember we should do a retrospect on that sometime. Me and the professor
that would be fun.
So anyways, I digress, but I understand they were going to do a Jason-based one that did shit the bed.
Correct.
So that,
and I think that could have hurt. That could have hurt.
Oh, I agree. Scream,
when it comes to the Purge,
think about it. Scream. The first two seasons of Scream were fun because it wasn't the same story. Once they tried to make it Ghostface, then it became bad because that last season was horrible. So I will give the first 2 seasons of Scream, the TV series, all right pass as far as what you're going with, only because it wasn't the same. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But here's the thing with that. I was kind of glad that came to an end. When it comes to The Purge, I actually don't want to see another Purge movie. I want to see the series take over. It's because it's so well done.
I'm with you.
Spread out, over a year, and it's like different.
I'm with you.
It's different.
And Professor, you need to jump in.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you this.
The show.
The nice part about it, The Purge is, because I just said it, the Purge movies are really the Fast and Furious horror movies, with the exception of the first one, which had a story. Most of them don't. The story is very loose. Nobody cares about the story. You just tune in for the violence and what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Whereas the TV show takes you into the lives of these people, and they've done a good job in both seasons of layering them. So that way that as you peel back the onion, if you will, you're getting more to the core of what's going on as you go on.
You get to the ogre.
Certain characters you start out really liking, but find out that they're real assholes and you don't like them anymore. Other characters you start out not liking them, but as it goes on, you get to care about them. And so because it gives you that humanization of what's going on, it feels like good. And with a longer period of time, with not the time restraints of like an hour and a half, 2 hours, because that's what a horror movie usually is, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
With doing no time restraints, and you're doing literally 42-minute episodes, and you have 10 of them or whatever it was last time.
Yep.
You really get to tell this story, and I think Mike, you hit the nail on the head. I think that if I would be more interested in seeing them continue to pursue this series on USA, if not move that series to a more R-rated thing. But I like it better on USA because you know what I liked, and we had this discussion. I liked in the first season of The Purge, every time something happened, they kind of cut from it, but they did it in a cool way. I.e., it's not giving away anything. At one point in Juncture, a guy gets lit on fire and drugged behind a car. You never see that. You see it through the infrared goggles that the hero is wearing. So he's driving around, he's wearing infrared goggles because he's driving in the dark. And you see, before he puts the infrared goggles down, you see this guy getting beat up and tied to this car, and they're dumping gas on him. And then he does something else, and then he puts the goggles on. As he drives away, you see that truck take off, and then there's the heat signature, so you can tell the guy's on fire.
Wow.
And then there was a scene also in that where they beat the one girl to death with golf clubs. And they do it. Remember, they drop her off, and all you see is you see her go up, and right before the person takes the first whack to the head to knock her on the ground, all you see, it cuts away, and you see the reaction of the people that are on the bus, and then all you see is the rest of it. You see them beating the hell out of her in the shadows. So you never see the actual death, but you can tell it's brutal, and your mind's eye takes over. And I love that concept, so I would keep it on USA just because of that.
Yeah.
Whereas the movies are the opposite.
Right. And the other thing that's brilliant about the TV series is not only is, like what you were just saying, not only is that the case, but I don't know if we really call this an anthology series, but, it's a different storyline from season 1 and season 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't carry on. It's all different actors. And what I like about it is how extraordinarily what's the word I'm looking for? Just how strong the characters are developed.
Oh yeah.
They're very, very, very strong characters, all of them.
Yeah.
So
well, that's why episodic
really
TV works in that way.
Goes back to what I said. They layer it, but in this case, you've all watched shows. They had weak character development, and there's nothing to peel back. And this show is very much very strong character development. You're peeling back. You think, you get introduced to somebody, and on a show, most shows, you think that that's the way they stay. This is a very much they will. Some of them change for the better or for the worse during the whole thing. I mean, Lee Tergenson's character in the first season. Think about Lee Tergenson's character in the first season and how he ends up playing out over the season. Because when you meet him, he's just a guy who is purging.
Yeah.
But then you find out there is actually a method behind the purge, and he's not really purging per se. He's actually protecting people. Mm-hmm. But he's letting his inner violence out by protecting the innocent and killing the offenders, if you will. So, but when you first see him, you don't know that.
So about halfway through?
Yeah. First time you see him, you think that he's actually just trying that he keeps showing up late to kill the people he wants to kill, because that's really how it kind of looks. Sorry, spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler because you need to see it. And then you find out finally
he's got that CD playing or the tape that's playing too. That's kind of his inspirational talk or whatever's going on in the background. You know,
TED Talk.
You don't know what to think of him, but all of those characters are developed.
And then finally, when you get to the end of the season, I won't tell you that part because it's really good. He plays a pivotal role in something really cool, and you're just like, oh, okay, he built to that.
Yeah,
and then you see everybody else. It's a really cool concept. But yeah, I'm definitely into seeing more Purge TV. Hopefully, this might be if this is the last movie, I'm fine with that. And if they continue on TV, I'm even happier.
Forever Purge. That's kind of a cool title.
And Kiss from the Rose.
Yeah.
Kiss from a Rose.
And you know, again, Professor. You know, I don't know if you have a Hulu account or what, but
I do.
It's definitely worth. Yeah, it's definitely worth finding it. I'm assuming it would be on Hulu. I would watch it.
If not, USA,
there's 10 episodes in each season.
Streaming or USA has their on demand.
Oh, okay, then I can definitely watch it.
So yeah, I would check it out. Once you do watch it, especially now that everybody's kind of shut in and everything, if you have time to watch it,
it's funny you should mention shut in.
Oh.
Shudder is still running their promo for all you horror fans. I mean, we're not obligated to talk about this. I'm just going to mention in passing because we're not sponsored. Hopefully, one day maybe, and we'll have our own code. But if you want 30 days free of Shudder, you can still use the code SHUTIN. You get 30 days free of Shudder, and trust me, you'll probably stay on after that. It's a really good deal.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to figure out. You said shut in. We can just go from there. What's up next in the news?
So we're going to move on to horror TV series news. Season 2 of Nosferatu is set to premiere on AMC on Monday, June 1st at 10 p.m.
Did you guys watch it?
I didn't watch it. But I
watched the first episode and then I forgot to watch it. But I liked the first episode.
So we got nothing.
Yeah, but I will say this: the only thing I'm cool with it. A lot of people got good reviews. I just didn't check it out. But I will say that it is also on Shudder, by the way.
Oh.
Yes,
I will say this: I think that they should have pulled it up a little bit. Because obviously it's already done if they're putting it out in June. So if they did, I think they would have made more. Because if everything's still shut down, you're going to make more. You're going to get more views, if you will, if you just put it out there.
Yeah.
And I know that they're putting out it as a weekly episodic, which that's fine. But if you were to start, you were like, "Hey man, we got it done, and we're just going to put it out 2 weeks from now as the first episode, and just go from there." You'd get a couple weeks of people being at home anyway, so it'd be good. Yeah. That's how I look at it. Anything that's done, I think you should just put it out to the world right away because and I'm not saying to take advantage, but it is taking advantage.
Yeah.
And also as a consumer, as a fan of things, I need more shit to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm running out of things to do, and I'm really watching. I mean, I get to get it. I get to go back and watch older stuff. But sometimes something new is what you need. I mean, hell, I watched The Tiger King. I'm just throwing it out there.
I watched a half hour with my roommates.
Listen,
and I was like,
I just want to throw it out there. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I did get pulled into after episode 3. They got a lot of true crime on this show. We're not going to talk about it much more than that. But it still leads me to believe that that is proof to me that we are going closer and closer to making Idiocracy a documentary.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's all I will say about it. But that's how bored I was that I actually watched it.
Watching people getting indoctrinated just made me too sad.
Yeah, I just went. I'm going to just watch this and go.
Yeah.
I think. By the way, their indoctrination I think failed because they were supposed to. That was indoctrinating you to be like about animal rights, and I think they failed.
No. I mean like watching these cult.
No. But I got it. I understand that part of it too. But think about it. I think the whole point of the people who were making the documentary originally were to make you feel bad for animal rights or whatever, and all they did was really make people want to pet tiger cubs. I'm just throwing it out there. And I was the first person to go, well, they're endangered in the wild, so what is bad about like keeping them around by keeping them? Because think about it, that's the only way they're going to survive.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I want to see one in anybody's backyard. I'm just saying, but I digress. What's next on the agenda?
Next on the agenda, another series on Shudder. We know that we loved Creepshow season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 has been confirmed to once again be 6 episodes, according to Greg Nicotero.
That's great. So 6 episodes, which means 12 stories.
Excellent.
I'm all fine with that.
Right.
I think that's a good stride. 12 stories is good.
I was hoping to see a little bit more. I wanted to see 10, maybe 8 to 10 episodes,
which
Nicotero actually said himself he wanted to do, but you just
I look at it like this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. Keep them wanting more. Because think about it. They then took that, and that was so popular, they took it and moved it on to AMC. I started showing it on AMC. So I mean, it's hitting an audience. Yeah, they put it on AMC. Because AMC owns Shudder. I mean, it's the same difference.
Yeah,
but anyways, they put it on there because it was so popular. But obviously after the run, so they can do the same thing here. This will come out new. We'll be able to watch all 6 episodes as Shudder people, and a few months after they'll put it on AMC, so everybody who doesn't have Shudder gets to watch it, and they can kind of double dip. I understand that completely. From a business standpoint, I think that's perfectly fine, as long as I get to see it first for my more bang for my buck.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And I loved it. I can't wait to season 2. There you go.
I can't wait to season 2.
They put it out now.
Another
it's
one,
perfect time.
Another show that has a season 2 in the works is HBO's The Outsider, according to Jason Bateman.
Interesting. Yeah. Did either of you watch or no?
Of course, you always ask these questions.
Well, yeah, I'm just wondering.
Watch?
Like, did it? No, I didn't, and I'm wondering if it was the whole book. If the first season,
Jason Bateman did say that the source material for season 1 was the entire book.
Okay,
I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about.
So
the
they're
book.
doing a sequel.
We're doing a sequel now.
Okay,
which is fine.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, he says he doesn't know what they're going to do for it, but it is in the works.
Yeah, I have the book at the ready for quarantine purposes. This is one of the books on my shelf that I have not read that I'm very excited about. I want to read the book, then watch the show. So, I was, curious.
What are you waiting for?
Well, I'm in the middle of another book right now.
Ah, okay.
But
never mind.
Soon enough.
I was just saying, if you're chomping at the bit, get it done.
Well, yeah, it's next in line.
So I can see more pictures of you on the porch reading books.
Yeah,
that's my highlight of the day. Sadly enough. What's next?
Next up, the new streaming service Quibi just started, and there was a trailer that just hit about a new show called 50 States of Fright. Let me say that again, 50 States of Fright.
He was thinking 50
it just
Shades
premiered. It's executive produced by Sam Raimi, and it was available as of this past Monday, April 13th.
And it's not getting good reviews.
No.
There we go.
No, it's not.
We haven't watched it. It's not up my alley. Obviously,
did you watch it?
I was waiting for you to ask. That's why I just jumped in and said I didn't watch it. I don't have Quibi either. Just so you're,
Mike,
just
did
aware.
you watch it?
He does not also have Quibi. No, none of us have Quibi.
I do not have Quibi.
I didn't watch it.
But I just thought it would be fair to put out there that it is getting bad ratings. That doesn't mean not to check it out. If you have Quibi and you want to check something out, maybe you could be the judge of it your own.
Reviewers
and
sometimes...
also, I don't know if on Quibi, I'm not sure if it's the whole bulk that comes out or if it's episodic, because I don't know how they work their stuff.
It would have to be episodic, I would think. Because they're 10-minute things, right?
Right. No, but I'm just saying, I don't know how if they put them all out at once, binge watch it, or if they have come out episodically.
It would just
every week.
It seems weird because if they do it all at once, then why wouldn't they just make a?
Well, but they've been doing that lately. If you think about it, there's a lot of stuff coming out. Disney Plus was definitely a champion of that. Mandalorian did not come out all at once. Yeah. It came out episode by episode, and according to them, all the rest of their series are going to come out that way. Netflix has followed suit, and there's some stuff in the Bloodline that they're gonna pipe. I said Bloodline, but Pipeline. It's horror, so we can change it to Bloodline. But there's stuff that is coming through.
Streaming blood.
So they might do that as well. So I'm just saying that's a new thing in streaming is instead of binging, stretching it out, which for purposes of social media and hype works out very well because as Disney proved with The Mandalorian, they had a spike every week when it came up for the thing instead of just when Stranger Things hits, you have the spike for the first 4 days that everybody binges it, and then there's no spike on social media after that. Whereas every week, if you put it out weekly, every week on whatever said day, in the case of The Mandalorian, it was Friday. Every Friday, Disney Plus is being talked about on social media, and so I think that's where they're going for.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Right, and you got to figure too with Quibi, everything on there is 10 minutes or less. If they're going to put an entire season, let's say there's 10 episodes, you're going to be done with that in an hour and a half?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think
that's what I was getting to.
I think it would be better to put it out every week.
Exactly.
Then it kind of gives the taste out there. I would also like to point out that's kind of, Shudder's been doing that lately too with because even with Cursed Films, which we're going to jump into, which did get better, by the way. The two episodes from this past week were better than the first episode.
Oh, yeah.
In particular, the one,
yeah.
We'll talk about that
later. But I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out because obviously we're talking about Poltergeist, and that's kind of where we were going with, anyways. But I'm just saying they've done that too, where they do it, but they did two at a time. Yeah. They're spacing it out. It does give a little spike When you're talking about it, it gives a little spike. And then also, I think it also lets the company know what you like better. Because think about it, if you binge watch everything, you're like, this series was great. Okay, well, can we do something better? Oh, yeah, but nobody ever asked that second question. If it comes out every week, you can take the pulse every week. So if this episode, people didn't like it as much as last week's episode, you'll know. And you'll know what they don't like because they're talking fresh about it and with specifics. Because think about it, if I binge watch something, I'm going to talk about the overview.
Yeah.
If you binge watch, like, well, I keep going back to Stranger Things because, whatever. But if you binge watch, like I binge watch Stranger Things, I would talk about the overview.
It can be tough to distinguish episode to
and I also forget about what some of the good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. You can drop the ball on a great episode because you just are looking at the overview at the end of the day. So I think it works out better for them because then they can gather information on how to make shows in the future. And that's always a good thing. That's not a bad thing, believe it or not. When people are like, oh, gathering information is a bad thing. No, it's a great thing because then they can cater to us, the masses, who have to consume it. If not, we're just going to watch the same pile of garbage every single time.
Yep.
But what else you got, Mike?
One more piece of series news. New docuseries about Charles Manson is going to be premiering on June 14th on Epic, which is, a lot of people don't realize what Epic is. It's kind of like an HBO or Cinemax. It's a premium movie premium network. So June 14th on Epic's new series called Helter Skelter. Kind of excited about this one.
Yeah, well, I was.
Why are you excited?
I was at the level of do we need another one?
I'm fascinated with Charles Manson, just like I am fascinated with.
How much more could they get into?
That's
Ted
what
Bundy
I'm saying.
And
my problem, Mike, is I'm glad that you're excited, and I also do. I share your enthusiasm for serial killers. I do go down that dark route. But with the fact of Charles Manson, what bothers me here is that we've had so much on Charles Manson. Are they going to tell me anything new?
Yeah, like what?
Like I already kind of know. I don't think there's anything left. The same with Ted Bundy. Like I would at this point in juncture, I would prefer to jump into like a lesser known serial killer, like an Edmund Kemper. And do like a deep dive on him, which there is some stuff out there if you look it up. But because honestly, he was the sorority row killer,
right?
Or
BTK, or
BTK or something. And the reason why is because I think like the big ones, i.e., Son of Sam, Charles Manson, and Ted Bundy, have been like overdone.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm glad that you're excited. I'm not shitting on anybody who's excited, but I just feel like we could have done something else that would have been the same. Even the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez hasn't had like as much coverage as these other guys.
Yeah.
And so, or the Boston Strangler, or, I feel like these guys are on the Jack the Ripper level, that the only thing that we have left to do from them now is make fantasy films. And we already started that with Charles Manson, because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And if you think about that with like the Jack the Ripper, I love the movie From Hell, but that's where we've gone with Jack the Ripper, because now we're into fantasy, booking whatever we want to book, because we don't know. And they did it with Zodiac too. Because I like that Zodiac movie with
that awesome.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
Oh, Zodiac's great.
It's a great movie, but once again, think about it. That's where we've come. We've come so far. There's so much information. We know the whole story that now we can just fantasize about what happened. And is that a good or bad thing? Like, I get the argument. There's people out there who are victims or family members of victims that say this is a bad thing.
Yeah,
that we're now fantasizing and glorifying them. It goes. I have a serious interest in them. I really do. I'm not saying I don't. I that's one of the dark pleasures I have, is because I don't understand what makes a serial killer. So you always want to understand that. But at the same time, like, let's cover some other people, because then when you get into fantasizing, that's when people get weird. Yep. And that's when, and that's where I like to get away from, because even we saw it with Ted Bundy recently, with the docuseries they did was great. The tapes, the Confessions of a Killer, the tapes, that was good. But then you watch the movie, and it really just, Zac Efron as Ted Bundy, and I understand he was a handsome devil. I do get it. But it fantasized Ted Bundy to a whole new group of people, and it really takes advantage of the people who were, hurt by what happened. It's the same thing with Manson. Right. We've glorified him to a point, and like I said, now we're making fantasy movies about him. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Like
I love the movie. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it's not real.
Well, luckily he's not really in it, though.
No, but once again, he's the backdrop to it. And the same thing you can say, he's the backdrop to Mad Men. Mad Men. The TV series Mad Men, he was the backdrop to that as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, we're starting to fantasize and put him in a place where he's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have a weird feeling about it.
They should delve into, like, his relationship with Dennis Wilson.
Like I said, you get to a point, we haven't seen a good Jeffrey Dahmer thing in a while, but then again, a gay guy eating people, I guess, doesn't make for good TV.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is. And I don't know. That's just me. Once again, I love diving into this stuff. I know I'm like you, Mike. I love the Charles Manson lore, but I think there's nothing new. If you give me some new things, I'm in. But what are you going to tell me?
I'm interested in finding out what happened with Dennis Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of
one of the things I'd like to see, and there was I watched the documentary about it the other night, so it's kind of been done. There was a guy looking over where Spawn Ranch was, where they all used to hang out looking for bodies. This was, I think it was like 10 years ago that they made the documentary, but I'd kind of like to see them go back to where Spawn Ranch was and, you know, kind of walk around, see the caves that they hung out in where the pictures were taken, you know, kind of go back to the actual locations.
See, I'm actually fine with that, Mike. I really am, because that would be something different because nobody's really done it.
Yeah.
However, like if it's going to be the same thing where
Charles Manson
was born, blah, 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 and then, you know, he fancied himself as a singer-songwriter, and then he hooked up with Dennis Wilson, blah, blah, blah.
We don't need to see that.
The communal family known as the family started hanging out.
Take us back to the location.
And then it turned evil. You know, and that's where it goes. And then it turned evil.
Take us to Cielo Drive. You know, the house where Sharon Tate was murdered isn't there anymore, but take us to Cielo Drive and trace their footsteps. Take us to the street that the husband and wife were, you know,
I'm so cool with that.
Take me to
that.
That's different. Yeah, see, that's new. That's what I'm saying. But they don't. How funny is it they used that song in Mindhunter and they were going after the Green River Killer. Told another story, but anyways, I just want to point out that I'm with that. I'm with something new because we've seen and then it turned dark. The drugs and free love turned dark.
They could interview the woman who just married him while he was in prison, right? Before he died.
Yeah. Well, all right. We got some game news before we wrap this up, right? We got
a couple things. Game news. Right. Last of Us Part 2 was scheduled to come out on May 29th. That has been delayed again, this time indefinitely.
Yeah,
so that's
the
not
virus.
happening.
The virus.
Claimed another victim. Do you think they're even going to release it ever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're close to it being done. They were in the final, smoothing it out stages when they got booted out because of the virus. So we don't know when it's coming, but it's eventually coming. Last thing, and this is really cool. A couple of years ago, there was actually a horror movie edition of Trivial Pursuit. And it kind of didn't have the best reviews because there wasn't a lot of questions, and I guess the categories were kind of eh. There is a new Trivial Pursuit Horror Ultimate Edition that will be available this fall.
Yes.
It's going to run $49.99, and let me tell you, this thing looks awesome.
It looks amazing.
It does.
I definitely want this to play with my friends, of course, present company, and other people as well. Anybody wants to join. It looks amazing. We were checking it out when I sent to you guys the thing when I saw it. I was like, this is a must.
Yes.
This is great.
We'll have to do a thorough review.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Maybe even do some live play.
Yeah.
Because that'll be fun.
That would
do
be
a live
cool.
because with microphones it's easy to do a live play Trivial Pursuit.
Ask each other questions.
Yeah, we could just have the board out and we can tell about the board state, et cetera. Or if you don't want to add a video, you can add a video element to one of our social medias or whatever. Or you could just tell about the board state and you just kind of do the questions and people have it. Then you have people and I think that would be cool. This is a game that's cool to play on air because you'd have people at home yelling at you like, "If this is the answer." You can't hear them obviously because they're listening to you after it's already recorded. But because
these guys are idiots.
I've been there. I was listening. There was a few months ago. I was listening to the Ochaduro Parlay Hour podcast, and they were trying to think of all the James Bonds, and I'm literally yelling. I'm literally yelling at I was Lazenby. Come on, guys! How did you not remember? It's George Lazenby. Because that's the one they kept forgetting. How did you? I understand that the guy is a forgettable. He really is. But at the same point in juncture, so I understand the interaction. It kind of is a cool interaction. So I can't wait to get that to do it for the fans and for ourselves, just because it'll be a good game night. Get some beers together, and it's a good social distance.
Have a few beers, a few laughs.
When we can gather again, and think about it, it's also a good social distancing game because we can sit 6 feet apart and still play Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah,
I mean it's a little hard to move the pieces, but one person can get up at a time and move their piece.
Yeah. We could do it remotely even.
Oh yeah, you could do it. You could do it on Zoom.
Yeah,
I think Zoom is the new thing since quarantine.
All I want to do is a zoom, and a boom, boom.
It gives a better meaning to that song.
Yeah,
who would have thought that Rex and Effects was ahead of their time in the 1990s? All I want
to do is a zoom, and a boom, boom.
You know that we've jumped the shark when Rex and Effects have come into effect here on Horror Zone 607. So before we jump it even further, that is it for this week's news. When we come back, we are going to do a horror movie review. As we said before, we have been sticking to the cursed films movies that are coming out on Shudder, and this week we are reviewing Poltergeist. The classic Poltergeist, not the remake. Please, I never saw it either. Nope. I won't sell you the good name, but the original Poltergeist movie. We will be talking about that when we come back on Horror Zone 607.
Hey, this is Ken M.
Padawan J.
Coach Tuffy from the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, and you're listening to Rich and Mike on the Horror Zone 607 podcast.
You moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones! Lie! Lie!
And we're back in the zone, and it is time for this week's horror review. And as we said kind of before the break, diving in, Shudder right now is airing it's a TV series, if you will. It's hard to tell with the streaming sites what we should call these things anymore, but we'll call them a TV series. Yeah. It is about cursed films. They run about 30 minutes long. The first week was The Exorcist. We did not cover that because Mike will not watch The Exorcist again.
Yeah.
Let's just put it out in the open. We all know, everybody who listens to the show knows that Mike is terrified of Exorcist. I'm not wrong. Absolutely. I'm not selling you out. It's true. Which is it's fine because a lot of people are scared of that movie. Let's be honest.
For a long time, scared me.
Yeah, I love that movie. It is a scary movie. I will say that. But So we've decided to pick up. And in week 2, we had two new ones. We had The Omen and we had Poltergeist. And we decided last week as a team, 2 weeks ago actually as a team, we were going to do Poltergeist. Not because we don't like The Omen, just we like the Poltergeist a little more, I think, a personal opinion. So let me give you the rundown. Let me give you the stats on this, and then we will open it up for discussion. We're going to kind of give a little review what we like and what we don't like. No, there's not much that we don't like, but there's some, probably. I'm assuming one of us has to have at least one con about Poltergeist, the movie. We're talking about the original, obviously. Release date was June 4th, 1982. The screenplay, just get ready. Don't fall out of your seats, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we all know this. Spielberg? But the screenplay, Steven Spielberg, Michael Gryas, and Mark Victor. Also, in the producer's seat was also Stephen King, Kathleen Kennedy, and Frank Marshall. So it had some pretty big producers and writers. The story is credited to Steven Spielberg, the overall story. But the script was worked down. And, of course, it was directed by the legendary horror director Tobe Hooper.
Yes.
Go figure. Okay, first of all, before we go any further, Hooper and Spielberg collaboration. Before you go any further, this is one of those things that probably is in the Trivial Pursuit bin. You have one of the most legendary filmmakers of all time is Steven Spielberg. You have another legendary filmmaker, and specifically super legendary in the world of horror movies, in Tobe Hooper. This is like the dream team assembled. And I mean, obviously Spielberg did the story was his original idea.
Yeah.
He wrote the script with a couple people, and then he produced this thing out, and he was a hardcore producer on this movie.
Yeah, he was.
He was on set pretty much, from what I understand, he was on set every day. So this is a movie Spielberg he didn't want to direct it, but he went out and found the best horror director he could.
I'm glad he didn't direct it. And actually, my major, I love this movie. My major complaints are the Spielberg type touches, because I feel like he should have let Hooper kind of take total control once he wrote it.
I get you, but the budget of this movie was $10.7 million. Go figure. There's a lot of good budget. There's a lot of good effects in this movie too. And the box office for this movie, but way back in 1982, $121.7 million. If you wonder why this became a franchise, it was produced. The production company was MGM and SLM Production Group. So it was distributed by MGM UA Entertainment Company. The runtime is 105 and 14 minutes. So right there. And of course, stars Joe Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, and Beatrice Straight as far as like the main stars. And of course, we have so many more in the movie. So let's dive in. And Mike, since you're not here and it's easier for me to pitch it to you because you can't look at the visual cues that I can do. What's your review of the legendary Poltergeist movie?
Poltergeist, one of the great horror movies of all time, one of the greatest haunted house movies of all time, if not the greatest. If we're going to give cons to it, again, I was talking earlier in the show about how they just can't quite get haunted house movies right in Hollywood because there's always a hokey, over-the-top final act, and that does happen here too, although it was pretty terrifying, especially for its time.
What are you talking about? The clip that we opened up with? That was amazing. That was great acting by one Craig T. Nelson. We opened up with one of the greatest clips, one of the most iconic history. You moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies.
Well,
the bodies.
That's kind of cheesy, but I mean, like the third act is insane.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Everything just goes.
You have the
crazy.
pool scene.
Yeah.
One of the most iconic things in movie history is the pool scene. You have the amazing puppet that they use for the actual ghost, demon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
It's good.
I mean, I get it. I understand that you don't like that over the top, but I feel like when I said it earlier in the show, and I want to touch on it before I pitch it back to you, I feel like that's what made this movie, that third act. I mean, it was a slow burn movie. There is some action spots throughout the movie that we'll go over, but like that ending is what really, I think, pushes you over to like going from, okay, this is just a normal run of the mill haunted house possession movie, if you will, into, holy shit, what did I just watch?
Yeah, it gets pretty bonkers at the end.
And I think to me, when we're talking about a haunted house story, when like somebody's haunted, that kind of stuff doesn't really happen. I do personally believe in hauntings. I've had things happen to me. The house I used to live in, I had a lot of strange things happen. And I can tell you that there wasn't some big, giant, white puppet-like ghost. There wasn't anything flying around in the bedroom. There wasn't a clown. There wasn't a clown that was crawling out.
Oh, there was.
His arm around my neck.
Well, they was doing other things too. But anyways, Mike, I gotta stop. I'm not big in paranormal, but I will say this: if movies are a form of entertainment, correct? So if you did like whenever we hear about real paranormal stuff, whether you believe it or not, I'm one of the naysayers. I felt very good that Doug Bradley joined me in being a naysayer, even though he's intrigued by it. But with it going down to it, we hear the little things like the cup moved or this went from here to there or not paying attention or there was an apparition, but it's all light stuff. You're right. You're 100% right. But if you put that in a movie, Mike, would you watch that movie? If it was just that? If there was no no payoff, if there was zero payoff, if there was no
here's the thing:
would you really watch that movie?
If there's atmosphere and suspense with it, absolutely, I would. I think it's all in the delivery.
I'm going to throw out a challenge out, and I know that you're not a director, and I'm not trying to shit on it, but anybody who's creative, if somebody can provide me with a movie where my cup on the table, and I mean, obviously you can't see this, Mike, because you're home. I'm moving it like 3 inches.
Paranormal
let's say
activity.
But they think about it, they still relied on the big moves later on in the movie.
Yeah,
it ends over the top.
Yeah.
Because think about it, it does. It ends over the. It gets flung at the fucking thing, so it's over the top. So here's the thing: like if we take the cup and it just moves, like right now, and this is a movie. I don't know if I'm scared. I don't care how much. I don't care how much atmosphere you put behind it. Because if you think about it, I wasn't scared about Paranormal Activity either. There's nothing scary about that movie. To me.
I was just going to use that as an example because although there was like the big thing that happens in the last 30 seconds of the movie, more or less, to me that was the last one I saw. Was the first movie, and none of the other ones. I was kind of like when I watched the other ones, I was like, why do people like these? These are stupid. These are horrible. Nothing happens. And then I saw the original one, and it scared me half to death. It really creeps me out.
I guess it might be
several times since then, and it creeps me out.
I guess the difference between you and me is you believe in the paranormal and I don't. See, because I don't believe in the paranormal, maybe because it's more realistic
with him because
he's more real, and it's more realistic to him. To me, I'm like, okay, I want to watch a movie and I want to blow my socks off. Like I left the movie theater watching
Ghostbuster style ghosts.
No, not even that. But think about it. Like what does it for me? What scares me is, and I've said it before, like the Texas Chainsaw remake was a fucking terrifying movie. Why? Because that shit could happen.
Yeah,
Think about it. Me and you could leave.
Right.
Obviously, we didn't drive together anyways. Obviously, as you know, the professor just wanders in from the hills. But anyways, he's the drifter. But I mean, let's say let's say we got in a car right now and drove and a tire blew out and we ended up on some crazy person's thing. That could literally happen.
It's
like
creepy,
I know it's a little far fetched. They dramatize up, but it could happen. We could get slain and stuck on skewer. It could happen. And to me, so I get where you're coming from. So that makes sense that you put it that way, because I guess if I believed in something had happened and I believed in that kind of paranormal stuff, I think that then I'd be like, oh shit, this is something close to home, and I get it. Okay, so all right, now I understand a little more, because personally, I'm looking for something over the fucking top, because I'm like, I want to be entertained, man. I want to see some crazy shit hit the fan.
And I just want to point out, we're just, I'm just giving it a criticism,
right? Yeah,
for the sake of doing
fine.
so. I think Poltergeist is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. So I don't want to make it sound I'm like dumping on the movie, because I really love the movie.
But if we didn't say there's any cons, then we'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So I gotta give you that.
Overall, it does, like you said, have a slow burn. There is atmosphere galore in this movie. It has good acting. I love Craig T. Nelson in it, and I love his story as a father to his children and as a husband. I love that story. There's a love story that's there. It tells a really good story. They're great characters. And it really does have a lot of suspense. I remember this movie came out, I was 4 years old. And I remember when I was younger, TV was very different. We had 13 stations, and HBO was like channel 5 or something like that. And it would come, you couldn't see it without ordering it, but it was in like squiggly lines, but you could hear it. And I remember it would like kind of go in and out of the picture. And I remember the scene where Heather O'Rourke's character, Carol Ann, is sitting on the floor. They put her in a circle on the floor. She's got a football helmet on. She slides across the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
That terrified me as a 5 or a 6-year-old when I saw this movie.
Yep.
The
chair,
and
when they first
to this
started,
day, I remember that, the impact that it had on me.
Well, I was going to say,
there are some truly terrifying scenes in this movie.
When they first start investigating it and like seeing what's going on, that's really creepy.
Testing
stuff.
the spirit, if you will.
It is creepy.
I will say this.
Again.
Sorry.
One more point I just want to make real quick before you jump in. I was jokingly saying, how often do you see in your bedroom, the entire bedroom is flying around in circles? But that scene when the paranormal investigators come into the house and they're having breakfast with them and they're like, we know that most of this stuff is fake. Can you show us her room? And Craig T. Nelson doesn't even say anything. He just kind of looks at his wife, kind of looks at the investigators. The next thing you see is them walking up the steps, and he's kind of got this look on his face like, okay, you don't believe it? And he opens up the door, and you hear like the laughing and the things flying around the room. Chilling. That is absolutely.
Oh yeah.
If I haven't seen that movie in 10 years and I watch that scene, it terrifies me to the bone. It chills me to the bone.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's simplistic in this movie too. Like I think one of the things that obviously is on the poster and the cover of the movie. I think one of the things that did it for me always was the popcorn screen, because I know me and the professor were born in the same year.
Yeah.
So this was out a year before we were born. But growing up, of course, this movie was everywhere, and especially the image of her, that they're here, and then the image of her sitting in front of the screen. That's just the fuzz, and where it touched the chord for me, and where that became terrifying, something that simplistic, believe it or not, is because going back to when we were kids, TV stations used to sign off. Mm-hmm. And when they'd sign off, they do that American, the American, the national anthem or whatever. Sometimes America the Beautiful, depending on the channel. And then it would go to the bars, and then it would go to some of the stations didn't go to the bars. It went to popcorn.
Yep.
It would just shh. So watching that, you had been in a situation probably at some time in your youth where you fell asleep and woke up, and the TV was doing that. So like it could be very real. So that to me, when I was a child, and that carried with me until I got older, because of that imprint in society, was always terrifying to me that was the image that was associated with this movie and the "they're here" thing, which and when you watch the movie isn't the actual most terrifying thing, but it's that image that's burned in your head.
It's creepy as hell.
And it becomes creepy because you live that. I get now, if you were a young kid now watching it for the first time, and maybe some of our listeners who are younger who may have never seen this movie or didn't see this movie until later, they might not get it as well. But if you were there, man, if you remember growing up like that, then you did it. Professor, what was your takes to add on to Mike's? Pros, cons, anything else you want to add in?
Yeah, I already kind of got into it a little bit. It's like a mixed tone. I love the movie. It's scary. It's not one of my all-time favorite horror movies. But it is close. It gets close to like top 5, but it's not in my top 5. It would be probably top 15 in my top 15. But it just you have Spielberg writing it, and then he hires Tobe Hooper, and it's got such a mix of like the mean-spirited Tobe Hooper stuff, but then the light, like kind of sentimental Steven Spielberg stuff, and it doesn't perfectly get the balance right on those things, because then you have like these really gory moments, like the investigator who looks in the mirror and his face, like, you know, that nasty gory scene.
He
tears his face off.
Yeah.
And like you have that, and then you have like the light kind of family drama stuff, and it just like it feels like Goonies-ish, you know, and it feels like a Spielberg movie. But he hired Hooper. He should have passed the reins to Hooper a little bit more, I think.
I'm going to agree and disagree. And the reason why I say that is I agree with this. Your statement was right on, but I think that the balancing was not as off as you think. Because I think now that we found in horror movies, and it's going on later, and for now, is that there's got to be a balance. There's got to be a balance of light and dark in any movie. Because if you go too far to one way or another, you're going to lose the audience.
I will say,
you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I will say though that like because of that, there is nothing else quite like it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because it's a Spielberg Hooper like mashup, there is nothing else.
Right. And
like
I get you.
Let me pose this question to you too. Let me pose this question to you. If Steven Spielberg didn't have his hand in it, because let's face it, if E.T. wasn't being filmed at the same time, Spielberg probably would have directed this movie himself. And there are the rumors that he actually was the one that really directed most of the movie. Some people say he did. Some people say it was Hooper. There's a debate there. A lot of rumors, but if Steven Spielberg, who at the time was the hottest producer, director, whatever you want to call him, in the world at that time, if he didn't have his hand in this movie and it didn't have that Steven Spielberg feel to it, would this be the pop culture iconic horror movie that it has been and always will be?
No. If it was just, I honestly, I'm going to throw it out there. If this was just a Tobe Hooper movie, and there was no Spielberg interaction at all, which means that the movie would be a cult classic. It would be a cult classic. But it'd be a complete different movie. It would be more dark. There would have been some light to it, obviously, but it wouldn't have been as. He's not.
Well, if Spielberg wrote the script and just was like, "Here, direct it,"
right? But he would have changed the script, and that's what I'm saying. He would have changed the script. There would have been some lightness to it because the original script would have shown through in some areas. So it would have been a complete Tobe Hooper movie, because most Tobe Hooper movies, as we know, don't have much light in them at all. They're kind of just, let's see how dark we could actually get this movie.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is goofy.
Well, yeah, but think about it. But that was because he made it more as a tongue. He did it more as a tongue-in-cheek movie. That's why. Because you got to remember when that movie came out, Evil Dead was super successful as that kind of movie. So kind of like he kind of borrowed.
It's not light.
It's like poaching, but it's not like here's a good point. Like they don't usually end with the happy ending.
Yeah.
And even the happy ending isn't the happy ending, because let's look at the original Texas Chainsaw. Let's look at the classic. That movie, yes, she survives,
but she's damaged.
But she is done.
Yeah.
Like she has witnessed some shit. And you could
Same
tell
with
just
his
in
family,
that last and think about it, in the last minute, you like the moments where she get away, you almost feel bad for her that she got away, because you just see it in her face, especially when she's gone.
Yeah.
And so she didn't really she lived, but she's dead.
But also at the end of Poltergeist here, like the family will never be the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is definitely
but they're
Hooper,
together.
That's a Hooper cherry, you know, on top. Going, you know what? Yes, they lived, they survived, but are they the same? Were they really that lucky?
It does have an interesting balance, and like it wouldn't be the hit it was if and it like
it would have had the budget.
It's also like just very unique because it has the Spielberg touch.
Well, obviously he wanted to go out and get a horror director, and that's what he did. And at the end of the day, the budget. Let's talk about it. The budget is where it's at. You know, so you know, I agree with everything you guys said. Like I said, the atmosphere is great in this movie. The balance is. I agree with the professor. Not to the extent, but I do agree that it's off. It could have been a little darker. I do believe it still needed those light moments, because if you go too far one way, this is a movie that I feel like it could have gone the Exorcist route.
Yeah.
And not that The Exorcist isn't a legendary movie, but think about it. People are terrified of The Exorcist to the point that they will never watch it again if they make it through the whole movie the first time, which is a shame, because it's a masterpiece. Whereas this movie you can watch again and again, because it'll scare you in parts, but it'll bring you back to like levity.
And it's funny too. Yeah. And Spielberg doesn't want people throwing up and running out screaming
pretty much, or passing out or whatever. So I feel like this movie could have been that way if it didn't have the light ends.
Yeah, I like the
it
horror
really
edge
could.
stuff, though.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I don't get me wrong, but I mean, this movie is a great balance, and it's where horror went.
Yeah.
Think about it, this movie set the pace of where horror ended up going, where we have more balanced movies.
Yeah.
Think about it, horror has become this balanced category where you have to have a little bit of comedy, you have to have a little bit of drama, and then you have to have the evil, horrible shit going on overall. And I think that they captured it because the setting was perfect.
Yeah.
Suburbia. Like, let's be honest, suburbia, where you feel safe. You're on the suburbs. You're not in the city. You're not around the trash. You're not around whatever. You're supposed to be safe. They definitely took advantage of the quote unquote whitewashing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's very clean and whatever, however you want to go about it, like how the suburbs were described. And I think that's why Hooper probably in particular chose the suburbs. I don't know where the script originally was written for, but I'm sure he chose that kind of cul-de-sac life because going, okay, we're going to bring terror to scare the shit out of average Americans because, the inner city's scary enough. Here we go. You're not safe outside of the city. Yeah. And I thought that was a very good touch. And it was also a great touch, of course, one of the curses that people believe was real was they used real skeletons, which we found out on that show they didn't, which I knew that before because great makeup. By the way, it takes away from the makeup effects guys who did an amazing job on those fake skeletons.
Holy crap. Well, the guy said he used real skeletons. That most films do use
but he said
scientific skeletons.
He
from
said
the warehouse.
he said cheaper films were used to use real skeletons.
Okay.
He said this movie had a budget, and he was like, it sucks because the guys who did them did an amazing job.
Yeah,
but they were not real.
Yep.
So basically, he admitted
they weren't dug up.
They weren't
used.
dug up and used and whatever. But other movies had, and he was like, and there's no possession in those movies. I mean, whether you believe this film is cursed or not, I feel like a lot of it was happenstance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stretch. I mean,
there was that cool little interview with Zelda Rubinstein. Where she's like shame on people, almost.
Especially because, a little girl lost her life to a disease.
Yeah.
She didn't lose her life. She didn't lose her life to happenstance where she got hit by a car or something fell on her. She died of a disease.
Yeah.
And a disease that was killing her whole life.
And that
pretty much.
Dominique Dunn was killed by her boyfriend.
A jealous boyfriend. I mean, that would have happened whether she was in Poltergeist or whether she was in E.T. or whatever movie she was in.
It's not like Brandon Lee.
That guy was it's not like Brandon Lee getting shot, which we'll see that in the next course of
I'm very excited about that.
That's easier to explain, but and she was right. She wasn't wrong there. So before we give our ratings of this movie, let's play a little game and see who comes closer to the ratings here. Okay, guys, ready? So
ready.
All right. So the first one is out of 5. Common Sense Media. Out of 5, there can be points. What did this movie get? We'll go with Mike first. Mike, out of 5, what did they give it?
4.3 out of 5.
Professor.
I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5.
Well, Professor, you'll be closer because they went 5 out of 5.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So IMDb.
Perfect movie to them.
Perfect.
IMDb is up next. Once again, out of 10 this time
10.
with points. Professor, you can go first. What was it?
IMDb. I'm going to give 8.5.
Okay. And Mike?
IMDb tends to be a little bit lower than some of the other ones. I'm going to say 8.0 out of 10.
By the way, you both overshot. No points. 7.3 out of 10.
Wow.
7.3. I was surprised it was
what
so
a bunch
low.
of dinguses.
Yeah. Next up, by the way, is Rotten Tomatoes. Out of 100%. Mike, out of 100%, what did they give it on Rotten Tomatoes?
Critics. These are the critics.
Critics and fans. Rotten Tomatoes
and fans.
combined.
Critics and fans.
It's a combined one.
85.
And Professor.
80.
Mike, you got it right on the nose. It was 85%.
Wow.
And then last but certainly not least, Google users. I'm going to hit the thumbs up button on it. Didn't change. Google users, this is all fans. Professor, out of 100%, all fans. What did they give it?
I'm going to go with 95.
95 for the Professor. Mike, what did you give it?
I'm going to give it 87.
87, you said? You both were over.
Yeah.
85%. It's the same as Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's still out there. Now it's time. Now that we've done that, here comes the important part. You know what that is? That is our review and ratings, and we usually do them a little differently. The professor grades them on a grade scale. Mike likes to do them out of 10, and I've on this show I have formed to doing them out of 10 instead of the other scale. So I will go first, just because then I can kick it out to everybody else. So I give this movie out of 10. This is one of those movies that I think is, as you know, I don't give anything a perfect grade. I just don't think it exists. But it's one of those movies that I think is a very good movie. I give it actually a 9.0 out of 10. Uh-huh. So it's not as high as like it's not as high as up there as like Halloween or Jaws or anything like that. They're getting closer to that 9.5, 9.6, almost perfect number. But I really think that this movie touches, for me, it's one of the movies that
it touches you.
Well, kind of in a way. It touches me like that damn clown, man.
But
here's the thing.
Scary. Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's one of those things that made me fall in love with horror. Because it was one of those lighter movies as a kid where I was terrified of other things. This was scary to me, but at the same time, because of the lighter overtones, it took away it eased in there. So this is one of the reasons why I still love horror. So I always give it a little higher. Rewatching it this past week, I still love the movie. I still think that it's timeless. That's why I never will watch that remake, because I don't think there ever needed to be a remake to this movie. That's why I also give it that rarefied air.
Trust me, I've seen it. It was the most god awful thing. Sam Rockwell acted like he didn't want to be in it.
Sam Rockwell. Okay.
So, okay, Mike, you can go next, is that way, and then we can kick it to the professor last. I know you do it out of 10 just like me. What did you give this movie?
Right. Yeah, so keep in mind that pretty much anything over 7 for me is usually pretty much considered excellent. This may seem a little bit low, but I want to stress that I give this a very, very, very strong 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, that's still a good grade. I want to say, like I said, I think I give, me, I'll bump mine a little bit for nostalgia, but 8.5 is a fair grade. I really do think it's a fair grade.
Right.
And it does align with everything else, because 8.5, it can go over to 85%, which would align with, pretty much everything else. So that's pretty fair grade. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor, you're going to grade this because you give everything a grade. So go in and tell us what you're grading and how you graded it.
Well, yeah, out of the 10 scale, but giving it a letter grade, so out of 10, I'd give it an 8.8, which is an 88 average, which would be a B+.
B+. Yeah. It's not bad. It's a good grade.
And just going into some of the reasons, it's just like it's a weird popular movie.
Mm-hmm.
The nostalgia's there. Didn't strike as much of a chord with me as maybe you guys when I was a kid, but it is.
That's why we both say you're wrong. Your opinion's wrong.
And it's significant.
You're not allowed to have an opinion.
But it is a significant. Important horror film.
I gotta be honest with you, Mike. Though he gave it a higher grade than you did, so
yeah,
you can't call him wrong.
But his grades don't mean the same as mine do.
What's 8.5? That's a B. You gave it a B.
Yeah, but no,
it's not a B.
Solid B.
But he has a different grading.
If you're grading it out of 100% with 65% failure.
Yeah, see, you grade the movies. He doesn't. Believe it or not, on his scale, an 8.5 is a really good grade.
Yeah, it is.
So I was just
5 out of 10 is average in my scale. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. My scale is based on what Mike's scale is based on. Yeah. But I get the professor's the professor. He has to grade things.
Yeah, I got a B+.
So he gives it a B+, which is fine. As long as he stands by that, in the future, he might not want to give a number grade to something because he might think he might give it a number grade of an 8 and go, well, actually, I liked it. It was an A or an A-. But B+ is good.
No A+. No A+.
No A+. See, that's another thing. That's
99.9%.
Yeah, see, I can't give anything. The highest movie I give, as everybody knows, and I think Halloween is the closest to perfect movie, and that's a 9.6. That's the highest on my scale. And right behind that is Jaws at a 9.5.
Yeah.
And it goes on. And I'm not going to go down everything. But I'm just saying, I've never given anything a perfect, because I don't believe anything is perfect. Because there's always something you can find. I don't care how good the movie is. There's always something that you didn't sit right with you. It might sit perfect with somebody else, but it didn't sit right with you. So that's how I always look at it. But you know what we're interested in now? We're interested in what you think at home. And that's simple. If you want to send it in, go ahead and do that. Horror Zone 607 on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Like and share the page while you're at it if you don't already do that. And let us know what you think. Also, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram, where you can also hit us up, and that is at HorrorZone607. Once again, we always are open to any kind of conversation you guys want to have, whether it's just to say hi, whether it's to suggest a movie we should review, whether it's to suggest a topic we should talk about, or, if you just want to give your opinion. We always like to hear other opinions. It's, once again, an opinion, everybody can have one. We could poll 100 people, and 100 people will be different. That's why when you looked at those percentages, it's 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, because obviously a percentage of people, there's 15% of people who might have not liked the movie or didn't like it as much. Yeah. So there you go. That's bottom line. So we always are interested in here, because you might be able to point something out that we missed. obviously. And of course, use that hashtag HZ607 so we know you are part of the conversation. And Mike C, take them home.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Horror Zone 607. We will, of course, be back at it next week. The guys in the studio, me, I'll probably be tunneled somewhere. I would have to say maybe I might make it to Florida by next week, but I'm going to carve out my tunnel as I relocate.
You got to be near the Mississippi by now. Are you under the Mississippi?
I'm under the Mississippi River as we speak. So I'm actually tunneled below it.
The old man.
Yeah. So by next week, hopefully I'll make it to Florida, and somewhere I'll be setting up shop with a new bunker. But I want to thank the professor for taking time out of his busy schedule to make it here.
Oh yeah.
And of course, Rich, thank you for everything that you do, producing, and just making the show all around perfect for us. And that's all I got. So until next week, when we're back at it, giving you guys more entertainment, things to keep your mind off of the world as it is right now. This is Mike C saying, see ya.